All right, folks. Well, this will be my first official Tubi movie review. And based on how well this video does, I may actually start doing more of these in the future. I think it will be a nice little side quest outside of the Tyler Perry content I review on the channel. But this is for Left on Red, a film that was released from OBE Studios. I believe it was the first feature film from this studio. And just so you know, I will leave a link in the comment section below to the social media for this studio, as well as Latarian Perry. Also, you may recognize his name, Barry Brewer, aka John from Bruh. They had hands in the kitchen while working on this film, and it was requested that I give a review for it. So this is honestly, wait a minute, I think I did watch a couple of my baby Jasmine, Crystal Lee Naomi, a couple of her films on Tubi. So I think this is my third or fourth Tubi movie that I've actually watched. I've known Tubi to be a thing for a few years, but yeah, I've only watched a couple of movies on there. But this one was actually pretty good. I'm not going to lie. I think when I first read a synopsis on it in terms of, just a brief description in the genre, you know me, I'm not really a big thriller fan. So I decided to suck it up and say, you know what, let's give it a shot. And yeah, I think it was worth it. I think the ending is what threw me off a little bit, but I'll get into that more later. But before moving forward into the actual review, yes, there will be spoilers. Make sure you take a moment to hit the thumbs up button to show you like the video. Follow me on social media. Links are in the description below. Hit the bell icon and select all. That way you don't miss out whenever I post content on the channel. And as we get closer to 300,000 subscribers, you can help me out by hitting subscribe, because again, we are almost at 300,000. So let's jump into my thoughts on the film and we can break it down from there. So the breakdown is, with a string of failed relationships behind her, Taylor, an emotionally unstable woman, and the movie does a great job portraying that, tries to find love again in a new city, but ends up having to confront her demons while attempting to outrun her past. Let me just say up front, Barry portrays a character named Calvin, and as someone who watches Bruh, as well as some of Barry's content on his social media, because I look at, he does a lot of, what do you call it, like sketch comedy, like TikTok videos, Instagram videos, Reels, things like that. And I can't think of too many where it's Barry who interacts with a woman who's sane. I mean, on Bruh, you have Lydia, I believe is the name of his love, I air quotation marks, love interest on that show. Then you have Taylor in this film, and then some of the women he interacts with as different characters in his reels. I'm like, man, this guy can't catch a break. And it seems like almost every time Barry's in a project where he's wearing glasses, I know he's going to get screwed over in one way or another. I think he portrayed a character on, man, this takes me back, but I think it was BET Tales. Was that the name of the little mini series where I think it's called an anthology, where you have, different stories throughout the show's run or something like that. But in any case, we start off the film with murder. We basically learn that Taylor has this thing where if a guy lies to her, it kind of sets off a trigger that leads to her becoming very jealous, and then sometimes seeing nothing but red. Yeah, I know the title of the movie is called Left on Red, which I believe is a play on the phrase like left on red, like, hey, you didn't respond to my text. Uh-oh, I left you on red. But it's R-E-D because there's blood involved. But so Taylor starts off by killing, I believe, one of many boyfriends that she's had throughout her life. And I mean, it's just a string of events as we learn through the movie. There have been a number, I want to say around 8 or 9 people who have been murdered, which could imply that she's had just this long string of one relationship after another where a guy has lied to her, and it just sets off something in her that leads to her murdering the person. So in any case, she kind of, wants to start over in life. So she goes to Chicago, and there she meets Calvin on a dating app. And I mean, I feel like that's one of the reasons why I couldn't fully relate to the film. And this doesn't mean it was a bad movie. I myself have never tried online dating. Wait, let me rephrase that. Not long after I quit my call center job to do YouTube full time, a friend of mine from college was like, "You need to get out more, you need to date, blah, 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 and you don't go anywhere, so why don't you try online dating?" I mean, you don't have to leave your house unless you actually meet somebody, but either way, I think it was eHarmony or Christian Mingle, I forget which one it was, but I was ticked off because I spent like 3 hours answering every flipping question because she was like, "Yeah, answer all the questions honestly because I'll help narrow it down." So I spent hours answering the questions to create my profile, and then cause I told her, I was like, "Look, I'll do it for like, what I say, 1 or 2 months or something, and that's it. And if I don't find anything from that, I'm done with it completely." I think by the time I finished all the questions setting up my profile, that's when I found out that they only have the memberships where you pay an annual fee or 6 months. They don't have it where it's like you do a monthly subscription, so to speak. So even if you create your profile, it's like LinkedIn, but worse because you have to pay for premium, so to speak, in order to unlock all the features. Like, oh, you can only send about so many messages, or you can only see so many profile pictures of a person. It's just ridiculous. So after not having much luck, AKA I didn't want to fork up the money to get all the features, I dropped my account. So I don't have any experience on Tinder or any of these apps. So that's where I felt like, okay, I wonder if I can get anything out of this film because I've never experienced the online dating scene. But after watching this movie, it just makes me go, you know what, Jeremy, as an introvert, you're better off not messing around with it because you never know who or what you're going to find on these dating profiles because these people out here are crazy. But the moment I saw Taylor, when she came to the restaurant to talk with Calvin, I'm like, dang, you know what? She's not crazy. She's misunderstood. Okay, Amber Monique Taylor, who portrays Taylor, and another character who I will get to later in this review. Wow, she's beautiful. And no, that does not impact my score of this movie. I'm just saying that, wow, every time Calvin was like, "Girl, you so damn fine," I was thinking to myself, you know what, man? She really is. So, we get to the meeting of these two where they basically just kind of, introduce themselves to each other. Taylor's kind of nervous because this is her first time on a dating app, which makes me wonder, I don't know, what if you met some of your past victims on a dating app and this is a facade you're putting up for Calvin's sake? But the date is interrupted by his boy Skelly. This is Calvin's best friend, and he just intrudes on the date, talking about, yo, let me hold some money real quick, and oh man, she's fine, and like, I'm off later today if you want to meet up or something. It's like, bro, your bro's on a date, come on, back off. So one of the little running themes is the fact that Skelly's like, you look familiar. You model Instagram or anything like that? No, I don't. So things get so awkward to the point that Taylor opts to leave, but promises Calvin that, hey, if you call me, I'll answer. So from there, we go over to Taylor getting a call from Calvin and saying that, okay, you know what? I'll give you a second chance to make a first impression with a date. And he agrees. Okay, great. How about Friday, 7 p.m. I'll pick you up and I'll show you around since you're new to town. Wait, I think it's too early for the pickup at my place. So they agree to meet up. Now, we actually are introduced to Julia, who is the third party, if you will, of the friend group between Skelly and Calvin. I believe that she is Skelly's sister. Please forgive me. My notes are a bit messy. I was writing really fast. But regardless, this is a trio of friends. Now, they basically, are having like a video game night, and they're talking about, the Taylor situation. And something of note here is the fact that Taylor, and this is just my impression of Taylor, aside from how fine she is, she seems to fall for people quickly because, I thought it was kind of cute how she talked about how, yeah, even though our first date didn't go as planned, maybe it's one of those things where we can tell our future grandkids, like, okay, this is how I met grandpa, on a dating app and whatnot. So, it just makes you wonder, how quickly you would even make statements like that after you meet someone. I mean, it kind of is, a pretty slick line. Like, yeah, who knows? Maybe decades from now, we'll be telling our grandkids, like, hey, I met your grandmother on this app, man. We had a first date at so-and-so. But I don't know. But then again, like I said, I haven't tried the dating apps. I haven't even, wait, it's 2024. When's the last time I even went on a date? Probably about a decade. I need to get out more. Yeah, so I don't know exactly what the proper dating etiquette is. But apparently, the whole thing about a guy having to plan the date is a plus. But I will say this. It's like my friends tell me, man, the way you work so hard on your channel, on eBay store and whatnot, if you put even a fraction of that effort into your dating life, you'll probably find a wife in no time. But we're not here to talk about my lack of a dating life. We're here to talk about this movie. So they go out on Friday. Again, Taylor looking fine as heck. And it's a sightseeing tour. Instead of Calvin picking her up, they basically meet up together in a parking lot. And, they go to a store, a little shopping. He takes to like a hole in the wall restaurant. And they were sitting at the bar, drinking, getting to know each other, having a good time. And things are going well. Oh, also a very slick thing was when Calvin was getting ready to meet with Taylor, he went to like a flower shop, or basically a store, a florist. That's it, florist. And he got one rose, but then opted to get her maybe a couple more, but then opted on 3. I think it was one of those moments where actions speak louder than words, because we see Calvin going in and out of the door multiple times with the flowers. And I was thinking, oh, I wonder if he thinks 1 is too skimpy, a bouquet would be too much, but then he settled on 3. But then he explained to her when she joked, oh, wait, is the florist out of flowers? Oh, no, each flower represents, a special moment. Like when we matched online, when we had the first date, and now you give me a second chance on the second date. I thought that was really slick. It was smooth. I like that. It was just one of those things where, yet again, me and my lack of a dating life in terms of experience, one has to wonder how much is too much on the first and, second, third date. Like, when is it appropriate to give a woman a full bouquet of flowers? Is it something where you want to just go all out before you really even get to know someone? Or do you want to start off a bit smaller to show, hey, I think you're special, but let's work our way up to a full bouquet? So I think it was pretty smooth how we did what he did. But then around the 20-minute mark, when their date is over, that's when red begins to show. And I'm not talking about the flowers. We got Julia, who gives Calvin a call in the middle of him, saying, well, hey, I had a great time, and I'd really love it if you're up for it, if I could see you again. And that's when we see Taylor kind of go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. The fact that Julia blows up Barry's phone, and not Barry, Calvin, sorry about that. She's like, oh, well, maybe you need to just get to your friend. So it's kind of a recurring theme, because on the first date, when Skelly showed up and dude wouldn't take a hint and leave, he basically took over the conversation, and Taylor just got up and left. The same thing kind of happened here, where these two were having a sweet goodbye, but the fact that, Julia kept blowing up Calvin's phone, Taylor was like, you know what, have fun with your little friend. Hopefully the emergency isn't too bad. And then, he gets on the phone concerned, and then he splits. And we have these moments, I think it happens at least 3 to 4 times throughout the film, where Taylor is alone and she just starts screaming like, ah! I'm just getting over my cold, so my screeching might not be that good. But I will say this. I don't know if Amber has been in any other projects, but I think she played this role very well. Unhinged. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Unhinged very well. So, to be blunt, the entire plot point involving the police, Skelly was, I guess you could say, somewhat of an informant who worked for like the newspaper, and he kind of worked with the cops to kind of get scoops on different things. I don't know if this storyline was one of my, I think it kind of brought the movie down a bit. I think the angle I would have went with, because like I said, spoilers, Skelly ends up dead because, it looks like he's getting a bit too close to the truth about this heartbreak killer, if you will. And I think it would have been interesting, because we learned that, the police are Sergeant Gustavo. I probably said it wrong, but I think that, she was feeding Skelly information and giving him access to cameras and stuff like that around town. And it felt like, maybe if the cops had something to do with his death as opposed to how he actually died, it would have made things a bit more darker. But, it's just one of those things where it felt like the movie was trying to tell two stories at once, and I don't know if it stuck the landing, so to speak. But as the film goes on, things are getting very serious between Taylor and Calvin. I'm not exactly sure on the passage of time here. You know me from watching Sisters and all these other Tyler Perry shows. Continuity is very important to me, but we get to the point where, they're saying I love you and whatnot. So we can assume that, maybe a couple of weeks have passed, so to speak. But things take a turn for the worse where you have Julia showing up to Calvin's job unannounced with like pizza to surprise him. And then when he gets up to embrace her, and I believe there's even a kiss on the cheek, you have Taylor who comes in because she actually was coming because Calvin and her were supposed to have lunch together. So then, this isn't the best first impression. Julia is very, cordial with her. Oh, I've been wanting to meet you. But Taylor's giving her attitude. And then, Julia just leaves. And then, Calvin kind of confronts her about like, hey, well, what's up with this energy? What's going on? And, well, look, even though Calvin said that, hey, she's like a sister to me and whatnot, I will say this much. There is a bit of a hiccup with the continuity because he kept insisting to Taylor that Julia was nothing more than a friend. We've known each other since we were kids. She's like my sister. But at the end of the film, when he's talking to, Taylor or Claudia, or Taylor, or Claudia. Yeah, that part confused the heck out of me. He says, well, when we were younger, we talked about it, we tried it, but it didn't really work out. Basically insinuating that there was a point in time when we were younger when we had feelings for each other, but it really didn't work out in any romantic sense. So why not mention that earlier? I feel like, and I'm not saying murder is right in the circumstances that, Taylor was doing it. I feel like you have to wonder, when she killed these past boyfriends, were all of them straight up liars? Or maybe she misconstrued some of the information that was given to her. Like, were these dudes legit liars? Or, were some of them caught in compromising positions and Taylor assumed that she was lying, or she was getting, being lied to. So anyway, when Julia gives Skelly a call about how Taylor and her just had this weird run-in, Taylor kind of pops up on her and asks if she's going to the party. And, Julia is like, yeah. And it's like, oh, I just hope to see you there. And I'm sorry. So the party takes place. And this is when the movie kind of gets a little rough for me. So, we jump to Skelly getting killed. Then you got the funeral scene. And then the cops take Taylor, bring her downtown. And, Julia's on the phone with, Julia, Claudia, Julia. Yeah, so you got Calvin on the phone with Julia asking if he was okay because, they just lost one of their own. And it's funny because while they were grieving, you got Julia and Taylor about to go at it because Julia ain't taking no mess. Like, yo, she's fake. She's fake. I don't like her. And, it's interesting because Calvin's kind of siding with Taylor here, like, hey, you need to chill, Julia, I know you're grieving and whatnot, but this is not the time or place. So then it turns out that Taylor has a twin, and, she tells Calvin that, oh yeah, our dad always would get drunk, and one night he put us in the car and went out driving, and then there was an accident, and my sister had all these scars and whatnot. And I think that's probably what messed her up. So I think it was a situation where she was jealous of my life and she wanted it. So she would kill all my boyfriends and whatnot. And she would get all these tattoos to cover the scars. And basically it was a situation where she got this one tattoo behind her ear. And then at the end of the film, when she's pulling her hair back, we see that there's a tattoo behind the ear. So it's like, oh no, Calvin's in danger because this is the crazy chick. So it's kind of weird. Julie even gets knocked out. So okay, let me put it this way. I'm giving this movie a 6 out of 10. I wish I could score it higher, but here's the thing. I feel like while this movie had potential, the ending kind of got cut, reshuffled, and edited and put back into the film. I think the ending of the film was more concerned with setting up a potential sequel as opposed to ending the story that was being told. I want to say this first like 30-40 minutes were pretty solid, but when we get to the funeral onward, that's when things kind of take a turn for okay, we're trying to set things up for the future. Because I don't believe the twin thing was ever mentioned at all during the first 2/3 of the movie, because I'm literally going through the notes and maybe I missed something, but I think Taylor was just Taylor. I mean, at first, when Claudia was mentioned, I'm like, oh, what if Claudia was her previous name, but then she switched it to Taylor, and then she eventually met Calvin. But no, I don't think that's the case at all. So I don't know. This is a movie where, again, I think it had potential. If there is a sequel, maybe it would be different. I don't know. I just feel like, okay, couple things with, and this is, you can call me being nitpicky, but this is how I am. When you have Skelly talking to the sergeant at the police station, like you're doing something that's under the table, seem possibly illegal, where you have this informant at the newspaper. Why would you be discussing this in and I could be wrong, but I believe this is like the lobby area of the police station, as opposed to like one of the back rooms or the interrogation rooms or something like that, or even, the sergeant's office if she had one. That way it felt a bit more discreet, as opposed to like, imagine like going to the hospital lobby as opposed to, hey, let's go to the parking lot in my car where, there's less eyes and cameras and stuff like that, so we can just talk. And then, like I mentioned earlier, with Calvin not being completely upfront about his connection or relationship with Julie, is like, yeah, we aren't just siblings in terms, we don't just have sibling energy because, we've been besties since we were kids. Like, there was a point in time where we thought we had feelings for each other and we attempted to, act on those feelings, but nothing ever came from that. Like, we never slept together, and we went on a couple of dates, but then we agreed while we were teenagers, look, we're better off as friends. And that's pretty much only as far as our dynamic goes. Kind of to put Taylor at ease, because I just feel like, if nothing else, Calvin was a bit aloof throughout most of the film, where it's like, I feel like there are many red flags. Left on red flags. I feel like there are a lot of red flags that he kind of ignored. I don't know if that's because he's just that kind of guy, or again, because Amber is fine as hell, so it's easy to overlook them. But I do feel like in some ways he was unintentionally being dishonest. It's like, oh, don't worry, that's just my play cousin or something like that. Or, oh, don't worry, we've known each other since college. But like Taylor said when she walked in on him and Julia in his office when she brought him lunch, how would you feel if you walked into my job and you saw me embracing and putting lips on, a friend of the opposite gender? Like, how would that look? So, yeah, in some ways, I understand where Taylor's coming from. But, yeah, I just feel like this movie, it didn't stick the landing. It didn't stick the landing. Also, why in the world, okay, imagine you're in the Taylor position. If you were pinning crazy murderous activities on your twin, why would you tell specific details about like tattoos and whatnot? Like, oh, there's a tattoo behind her ear. You tell that to Calvin. And then at the end of the film, when you see Taylor brushing her hair back, we see that tattoo behind her ear. You don't think there's any point where he wouldn't see that tattoo behind your ear? I'm just like, why would you say that? I mean, for the audience's sake, yeah, I get it, but I don't know. But also, it kind of goes back to the beginning of the film. Maybe it's a full circle thing. When Calvin's just gushing over how fine Taylor is, and, wow, you don't do your profile picture justice. And, I mean, your profile picture doesn't do you justice. And, wow, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's something different about you. Is it the hair or whatnot? Because that's beautiful too. Yeah, well, I always change it because I always get bored with it. And it's just one of those things where, like, was that a Easter egg as to, oh, pay attention to the end of the film when she messes around for hair and that's how we see the tattoo. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm giving the film too much credit, but if that was indeed a reason for the ending, then that kind of makes sense. But overall, I think it was alright. This film was like, what, an hour, 8 minutes? But if you subtract the credits, I'd say it hits right at an hour. So it's easily digestible. And even though I didn't watch a bunch of other movies, I was just curious. So I just clicked on various Tubi movies, and most of their runtimes are pretty manageable, you know, somewhere between 45 plus minutes. So it's not too bad. I'd highly recommend checking it out if you're a fan of Barry. And if it's like, oh, you missed Tyler Perry's Bruh and you want some Barry banter, this is the this is the movie to check it out on. So make sure you check out Left on Red. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, are there other Tubi films that you would like me to watch and review? I mean, do you think this would be a great way to diversify my channel by stepping outside of the realm of Tyler Perry content? You know, should I make a Tubi playlist, or heck, should I just create a different YouTube channel altogether and just call it like Tubi reviews or something? I mean, that would be kind of cool, but it's really up to you. So with that being said, thanks so much for tuning in. Like and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next video.